Hello guys, good morning. This is Creature of Habit and you're here today to build consistent habit for working hard towards your dreams. Now, I came today, I just said that I won't be here at 23, but I also was not here yesterday because there was Raksha Bandhan and I spent most of my time with my family, which you should do from time to time. After what for whom you are all doing apart from yourself. So I found it necessary to at least do some work because it just did not feel right, even though it is a scheduled holiday in between, and it is what it is. So now I'm here in between. That is what the grind is all about. That is what the grind is all about. Yeah, I hope you all had a nice Raksha Bandhan on this beautiful Sunday that it was yesterday. Now, one thing I want to address is that I would be referencing about in these times. If anybody of you have followed Abba and Preach in this time, I would say something about the American man and its implications that people have on themselves being an American man and the misconceptions of what it means to be a man, uh, and the misconceptions with regards to what is an alpha male or whatever, even if it exists, which in all reality does not exist. We are not animals, we are not wolves. Ooh, Yuvraj doing Akash's ad, and bro, Baiju's being bought, Baiju's being buying everything in sight. And this is sick. Monday. Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh on Sunday took exceptions to the recent remark to advance the government. President on sensitive national issues such as Kashmir and Pakistan, he said such atrocious and ill-conceived comments were dangerous to the peace and stability of the state and the country. Captain Amarinder Singh urged Mr. Sidhu's advisors to stick to giving advice to the WPWC president, not speak not speak on matters in which they had little or no knowledge or no understanding of the implications of their comments. CM was reacting to reported remarks of Pyarelal Garg questioning his criticism of Pakistan, as well as earlier controversial statement of Malvinder Singh Mali on Kashmir. Both of them were recently appointed by Mr. Sidhu as advisors. Captain Amarinder Singh expressed shock at the statement of Mr. Mali and Mr. Garg, which he said were misplaced and antagonistic to the stated position of India and the Congress on Pakistan and Kashmir. Kashmir was and is an inalienable part of India, the CM said, adding that with his proclamation to the contrary, Mr. Mali had effectively and inexplicably toed Islamabad's line. This is totally anti-national, he said, also slamming Mr. Mali for failing to withdraw his statement despite the widespread condemnation it had evoked. Ridiculing Mr. Garg's statement that criticism of Pakistan by him was not in the interest of Punjab, the Chief Minister said Mr. Sidhu's advisor was clearly disconnected from the ground reality. The fact that which every Punjabi and every Indian knows is that Pakistan's threat to us is real. Every day they're pushing weapons and drugs into Punjab via drones to destabilize our state and our nation. Soldiers from Punjab are dying at the border at the hands of the Pakistani backed forces. Mr. Garg may have forgotten the thousands of Punjabi lives lost in the fire of Pakistan backed terrorism of 1980s and 1990s, but I have not. nor have the people of Punjab, and we will continue to do everything in our power to fight off Pakistan's dangers. And what did Mr. Mali say? What did he say, Mr. Mali? Comment on Kashmir. Not this. Malvinder Mali. Nadal Sidhu's advisor made a shocking statement on August 17 on his body. My goodness. Bruv, what? Kashmir is a country of Kashmiri people on the rule set to leave India. What? Special status to India, to Kashmir. Why was the Kashmir issue taken to the UNO, and what resolution was passed to resolve the dispute that India and Pakistan agreed? How many years did Jammu and Kashmir have its own constitution, flag, and how was the status of a no law made by the central government about any department except four departments could have been implemented? So let us dissect each and every question right here. Kashmir is a country of Kashmiri people, just like two new countries, India and Pakistan, were founded in 1947 on two pieces of Punjab and Bengal. Similarly, on the rules of UNO, by violating the decisions of the Kashmir alliance with India, Kashmir has been divided into two parts of the country. First Pakistan, and now India has illegal occupation. This is absolutely false. Let me tell you why. So, who would be Kashmiri people? They would be who speak Kashmiri either or are living in those lands, right? By this definition, each and every state, for example, the speaking people of Maharashtra or the Kannada speaking people or the Telugu speaking people would be considered Telugu speaking people, especially the Hyderabadis, because the state of Hyderabad was also a princely state. Those people would also form another country. But no, what we call it is as a state. Finally, India is a union of indestructible. It is an indestructible union of indestructible states. What in what context these states are? These states are combinations of princely states. That means the territories that were ruled by certain kings, or we can say in the colonial time some princes, right? And other provinces that were in control of Britishers, right? That is how our India was formed. So this, it was not an agreement, but basically it was, so this sign, so the people who joined India, like the Prince of Junagadh, Kashmir, and Hyderabad, and multitude of the groundwork led by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the and India, with on which the Union statue in Kevadia is today standing is named Union statue just because the work done by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel to actually fill the holes in what we know today and love today as India. So turning, so this is a misrepresentation of a fact, a fact that okay, Kashmir comprises of Kashmiri people, but this does not mean that Kashmir is a country. Multiple states of India reside people who would be called uh, Tamil people in Tamil Nadu, Kerala people, Malayali people in Kerala. We do not say that Kerala is a country or something, but because in a sense, these people, when they were fighting for their freedom, actually signed to abide by the Constitution of India, basically be called Indians. Now, if Kashmir was a part, like other states of the country, then what was the agreement made with King Hari Singh of Kashmir on 1947? So let us backtrack this question. If Kashmir was a part of India like other states of the country, then what was the agreement made with King Hari Singh of Kashmir on 1947? So, what it was what was Mountbatten plan? Basically, the partition was to happen in this way. The elections that were held in 1946 clear cut made it clear which provinces of British controlled India, or British controlled part of India, were with Muslim League and what were with your Indian National Congress and Punjab Union and other stuff, right? So, on the basis of that, there was a partition. So a constituent assembly would be formed to divide these provinces between these two parties. And within these provinces as well, there were certain districts like Sylhet, where there was a plebiscite to be held, where it would be decided whether they would be with Pakistan or whether they would be with India. And on the basis of that, the British controlled provinces were given to India and Pakistan, and the princely states at that time, 400 and 500 of them approximately, with varying size of their kingdom, with kingdom of Junagadh, Kashmir and Hyderabad, the biggest one, including the Sikkim and the Manipuri and many other uh, kingdoms which were there, were given the option to either join India or Pakistan or remain independent, which is a fact. This fact is again being misrepresented by this question. Now, at first, King Hari Singh of Kashmir decided that he would be independent. That is true. But when the Pashtun forces from Pakistan came to Kashmir to occupy it because it was not joining anybody, they asked to be in India. So exactly, my friend, the agreement was made to be called it as a part of India. The agreement was this, that we will be called the part of India. So King Hari Singh made this, sending his wazir, which I do not remember the name. That is, I mean, it is important for Kashmiri people to remember that. But the gist is that he sent his wazir, which would later become the uh, the leader of the uh, government that would be formed in Kashmir. He sent that guy to Jawaharlal Nehru, and they signed the agreement in which on being the conditions were laid on by which India would Kashmir would be known as a part of India. The schedules of Indian the schedules that come with Indian Constitution were changed to actually mention the Jammu and Kashmir as a state at that time, with the fact that it will have its own constitution, it will have a legislative assembly, and it will have its own flag. Thus, this does not mean that it was not part of India. Exactly as per the agreement made, it is very simple. As per that agreement, Kashmir will be called part of India, but with special provision. That is why there was special provisions to add this. This was the agreement that was made. This similar kind of agreement were made by other people as well. It was made by other people as well. Now, this agreement was made with King Hari Singh, but in a democracy, you have to have discussion with the people, what they want. So King Hari Singh's agreement is actually to be in the part of India, on the basis of which we had a special provision for Jammu and Kashmir named as Article 370. All right. This was your answer for your next question. Is that what was the meaning of Article 370 and Article 350A, 35A? It is just the special conditions on the basis of which Jammu and Kashmir were added to the schedule. Let me recollect that schedule. It will help us in the exam as well. It is always needed, and it is best to revise rather than spew garbage on internet, but on the basis of which we will have it. So, what is this schedule? I remember the schedule to be schedule 1 will tell us the territories of India, and schedule 2, 3, and schedule 4. Schedule 2 is the emoluments, and schedule 4 would tell us the seats in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, right? Let us see. Where are the schedules? I have the Constitution of India in my hand. 411. We will see here. I am talking about the first schedule. I was absolutely correct. In the first schedule, the territory of India is written. For example, let us say the name of the first entry in this is named Andhra Pradesh. The territory specified in subsection 1 of the section 3 of the Andhra State Act 1953, blah blah blah, but excluding this. Or in Assam, the territories which immediately before the commencement of this constitution were comprised of the province of Assam, Khasi state, Assam tribal area, but excluding the territory specified in the schedule to the Assam Alteration Act, etc. Basically, naming the territories. Let us take a state that was not divided. Maharashtra. The territory specified in subsection 1 of section 8 of the State Reorganization Act 1956, but excluding the territories referred to in subsection 1 of the section 3 of Bombay Reorganization Act. So schedule 1 gives you the territories that would be considered India, right? Exactly. As it is an article for it is a schedule for article 1 to 4. Articles 1 and 4. Now, let us see what it says. Is the Jammu and Kashmir? Lo and behold, Jammu and Kashmir is there. Lo and behold, Jammu and Kashmir is here. Who would have thought? Yes. The territory which immediately before the commencement of this constitution was comprised in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Simple. Simple enough. This is what Schedule 1 says. So on this, to actually be able to write Jammu and Kashmir in Schedule 1, basically saying that this is the part of India, was Article 370 and 35A. Done. Article 35A, in a sense, is controversial because no parliamentary debate happened to actually add 35A to the constitution, which would actually require constitutional amendment, but it was in the appendix of the constitution. That is where article 35A is found, not anywhere in the main text of the or the constitution, but in the appendix. But appendix is equal to be in the constitution. That is why it was removed. Now, why was the Kashmir issue taken to the UNO, and what resolution was passed to resolve the dispute that India and Pakistan agreed to implement? This question is basically an antithesis to what he said here. If you give this answer to the Hari Singh question, he will not be satisfied, because he will bring up UN, United Nations. Now, the simple answer is that it does not matter in the democracy what the king thinks, it is what the people think. So, in order to do that, to settle this dispute, because what was the claim made by Pakistan? Pakistan suggested that King Hari Singh does not represent the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and they want to go with Pakistan. But King Hari Singh actually backstabbed his own people and signed an agreement with India to be called Indians. So now, if you knew, so this actually asking these two questions completely shows that this it is I will avoid an ad hominem attack, but a person who does ask these two questions actually knows the history, but is actively trying to misrepresent what were the facts, which is quite dangerous, I would say. So in this manner, let's now what happens is there are two rivaling claims which are very dangerous for the international peace, because in this era Cold War is going on, and it can rage into greater war in greater situations of uh, a South Asian destabilization. So UN also is involved to actually promote peace at a time. At that time, UNO was a strong organization, not like today, a baby without teeth. Now, the dispute was solved. The dispute was never solved, but the verdict was that there must be a plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir, so that what the people want is decided, is given a finality, that okay, do they agree with King Hari, their king, or do they not? Because king, as you said, is you put it in front of us, ask this question. The king actually signed with to be with India, to call Kashmir India, right? Just like many other princely states did it with India in the past with Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, this was why and how the dispute was resolved, and it is a misrepresentation of fact if you do that. All right. How many years did Jammu and Kashmir have its own constitution, its own flag, and how was the status of our prime minister? Now, Jammu and Kashmir had its own constitution since 1955, or around mid 1950s, you can say, till 2019. That would make it 45 plus 19, 64 years straight up. 64 years it had its own constitution, its own flag, maybe earlier. And what was the status of our prime minister? Our prime minister was given a special status with respect to Article 370 to actually allow the parliament's question. So basically, Article 370 provided two powers to actually add whatever they wanted, whatever they decided should be applicable to Jammu and Kashmir for the whole of India. Now, with this in mind, there was this with the agreement that was signed with King Hari Singh, with keeping that in mind, the Legislative Assembly's consensus must be required in both of the cases. And there were some particular parts of constitution that could be uh, that on which the prime minister had the power to transfer it, and on other issues parliament was the competent authority, which now does not need any explanation with respect to UPSC, because it is no longer an article in the constitution. But this is what was the position. Basically, prime minister and parliament had concurrent jurisdiction with respect to giving advice to the legislative assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, on the basis of which they would get some consent, and some part of constitution would be added to the Jammu and Kashmir constitution and would be applicable to the Jammu and Kashmir state. And over the period of time, Article 370 was utilized in a way which had a loophole which did not require the consent of Jammu and Kashmir. It was a complicated process by using the provisions of state emergency. The state was put into Article 356 emergency a lot of times, and by that method, many constitution portions were applied on Jammu and Kashmir. Though Jammu and Kashmir is not the most state emergency held, in which the state emergency was held a long time, for a long time, for multiple times, etc. But many of the constitutional provisions were applied to Jammu and Kashmir, and was basically the whole of the constitution applied in Jammu and Kashmir. So, how long did it have its own constitution? That is irrelevant. What was relevant is what happened. Was there provisions in which on which its constitution could have could be subservient to our constitution or constitution of India? Yes, it does. And now it has been removed again by using that emergency loophole. No law made by the central government about any department except four could have been implemented by Jammu and Kashmir until it is passed by the. That is true. But what is the relevance? What is the relevance? How this last question and the second last question actually means that Kashmir is a country of Kashmiri people and India has illegally occupied it? How? How? There is no connection of the last two questions. Exactly, this is correct. Obviously, this is very. This is a. I would not give ad hominem because I do not believe in that. I just believe in what are the facts. He said what can be termed seditious. At the very least, this is not within the reasonable. This qualifies as a reasonable restriction that are put on freedom of speech given by our Constitution, Article 19, Section 2, the security and integrity of India. Yes, integrity of India was questioned. It was not questioned. It was in fact stated. He did not question it. He said it that India had illegal occupation of Kashmir. That is completely false. That is completely false. I dissected completely all of his arguments right in front of you, which was not easy. I did not even have to look up anything, just whatever on top of my mind it was. If I actually would have prepared, you have seen what live. This is all live. This is all live. Live. I heard, I read, and I dissected and gave you the truth. This is what information, knowledge empowers you to do, to weed out what is the truth and what is false. I gave you this. This is wrong. Why he's what he's saying is wrong. You must not look it through any other lens. Just the lens of truth and false. I don't care what this guy is. Probably by the backlash, it seems that people know what is going on. But I have given you the facts that are important. Because in my mind, I gave the benefit of doubt that it would not be some atrocious, outrageous thing. It might be a solution to actually solve the problems of both countries and bring them together. Because in my mind, the biggest power in this world would be South Asia. If all the South Asian countries, be it India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, and your Bangladesh, if they work together, there is no beating them. They work together. That would mean that your neighbors, each neighbor is trustworthy. You have stability, large amount of stability, and large amount of people going through and through having technical cooperation and multitude where what they say, uh, economies of scale kind of situation would happen, etc., etc. There are so many people, so many skilled people will be there, so much of trade would happen. It would be a block that would not be swayed by any other power. Absolutely, the center would be the south of Asia. Probably I gave this benefit of doubt that maybe he gave us a controversial but a solution to the problem, and he is blatantly a separatist. Basically, this is what separatism is, insinuating that the particular state does not belong to any of the countries. So it is what it is. It is sad to see actually a human being who is supposed to lead somebody being untrustworthy. This is what double speak is like. But this was a fake double speak. Absolutely wrong. This is absolutely wrong. Unfortunately, there exist people who would try to denounce the work of the one of the greatest national leaders of all time, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the founding father of one of the founding fathers of India. Basically, basically denouncing his work, degrading his work. Absolutely not required. You want to worship people, you want to worship gods, you have to worship the founding fathers, man. Those are the people that need worship, that made this country. See, worship them, see, worship their ideas, and see where it takes you today, where it takes this country today. Worship those guys. Those are the guys that are worthy of being worshipped. Those are the people that are worthy of it. Those are the gods that are worthy of worship. Don't forget that. is starting to forget its founding fathers, but it took them 300 years. It took them almost 300 years to forget them. But now they are in worse position than when they were actually patriotic and remembered what their founding father taught them and their sacrifices, each one being much more patriotic than the other, actually revering their founding fathers. Now, the judging the previous owner, the founding fathers, the men and the women of the olden times to the moral standards and the moral situations of today is absolutely unfair. Don't do that. Think how hard they had to think to actually arrive at some of the truth. Nobody is born with all the truth inside them. That would be God. Nobody is born with the truth enlightened to them. Some of the truth gets enlightened, and they are bold enough and courageous enough to actually walk to the path, the difficult, perilous path that would take them towards their destination of the truth that they have discovered within themselves. And that is enough for being worthy of worship. That is what I know that will help anyone in this country. The talisman of Gandhi, man. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. It is very motivating, and I find that the people who are supposed to be the leaders, who have been on this planet, in this nation for so long, have such ideas and try to sway people. And it's actually refreshing to see that people, even though maybe they do not know the intricacies of what the questions are, and try to dissect them, that I did for you on with the top of my head. I didn't even see much of things. I just saw what the schedule number that I actually said, just to confirm, and rest is history. I actually dissected everything, and it is completely accurate by fact. You can see it, Google it. See what is the Ascension agreement. Unfortunate, really. Unfortunate, really. But it is a good revision exercise for the purposes of UPSC, even though it is a dead matter now because it is not the part of the constitution, so it will not be uh, within the discussions of or the premises of prelim, maybe mains, but it is too controversial to be asked, right? So rest assured for UPSC, it does not matter. So, okay, uh, my bad. Session 1 started at 5:10 a.m. and now there is a break. I hope you all took something away from this. I do hope. So, session 1 was done. Again, I would say happy Raksha Bandhan, and I hope you spent a beautiful time with your families because that family is very important. I say it again and again. Let's have some fun, baby. I have 77% of battery left. Let's go. Ooh, something weird. Something weird. All right. All right. All right. All right. Next up. All right. Absolutely destroyed this guy. I don't even care anymore. Oops. Didn't oopsie that I just wanted to do it. What the hell? I just utilized it. Ooh, my time was going on. Ooh, I got checkmate. Mm-mm. Okay. He challenged me and I defeated this guy. He thought he would win. Very simple for me. Very simple for me. Obviously, I'm the GOAT. Mhm, 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 mhm. For the first time ever, Supreme Court Collegium, the Chief Justice of India, recommended selected as many as 9 persons at one go to be appointed at the apex court, with appointment later of the 9 judges by the President of India, barring one vacancy, I don't care how you pronounce it, but which arose after the collegium met. All the 9 vacancies in the Supreme Court will be filled up. The highest court in the country, having its near full strength, will ease pressure on it considerably. Much awaited move, every CJI during this tenure has taken up filling of vacancies as a matter of highest priority, but many could not succeed. CJI days after, in fact, broke down into the function attended by Prime Minister in a rare expression of extreme anguish because of his inability or helplessness in filling the vacancies, which was seriously affecting the functioning of the supreme judicial forum of the country. It is indeed a happy augury that our present CJI, N.V. Ramana, could, along with his colleagues in the collegium, select the judges within a short period of his assumption of his office. It is almost a truism that the selection of judges for appointment to the higher court, particularly the top court, is a complex exercise. After the collegium came into existence, because of the 3 judges' cases, much to the consternation of the political class, the selection of suitable judges has become most arduous, in as much as the members of the collegium have to take extra care to ensure that the process of selection remains transparent and suitability of the person selected attracts the highest level of approbation. This by no means is an easy task. The members of the collegium are all the senior most judges who have in their own way helped shape the ethos of the highest judiciary. With their keen intellect, long years of experience at the bench, and an admirable ability to discern merit in individuals, it is a tough task to build a consistent consensus around one person or a few persons. The CJI, being the head of the collegium, has an unenviable task in building that consensus. Therefore, it can be said without any fear of contradiction that the job of selecting as many as 9 judges for the appointment to the Supreme Court was done admirably well. Going by news reports, it appears that the selection process was concluded in the first ever formal meeting of the Collegium. It is a remarkable feat in itself. As the Secretary General of Lok Sabha, I had the privilege of assisting the presiding officers, and I witnessed close quarters the struggles the Speaker had to endure in evolving consensus even on absolutely non-partisan proposals. Justice Ramana deserves full credit for taking along his colleagues in the true spirit of being the first among equals. The latest resolution of the Collegium gave effect to the multiple judicial pronouncements of the top court on the subject, particularly in recommending free women, a feat which may not be possible to be repeated in foreseeable future. Article 142.1 consists the concept of complete justice in any cause or matter which the Supreme Court is enjoined to deliver upon. The citizens of the country look up to the Supreme Court for complete justice. The concept of complete justice has been talked about. What do you mean by complete justice? This can be the question that can be asked in UPSC. Enforcement of decrees and orders of Supreme Court and orders as discovery. Article 124 establishes the Supreme Court. I was confusing it with that. In my mind, that is what the block was. Yes, the block needs to be addressed to remove it. So Article 142, enforcement of decrees and orders of Supreme Court. This is what gives the power of Supreme Court, that whatever it decrees is the law. The Supreme Court, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, may pass such decree or make such order as it is necessary for doing complete justice in any cause or matter pending before it, and any decree so passed or order so made shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India in such manner as may be prescribed by or under any law by Parliament. and until provision in that behalf is made in such manner as President may order or prescribe. So there is no law that has been made. So again, a UPSC tidbit has been created. The content has been created. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for giving me this opportunity to make some more content. Bros, I don't even know when I would release much of my videos. I just fail in my break. Something has happened. Just cannot decide when my break is to be. Maybe Friday, whatever it is. I would come on Friday as well to study, but I would post videos, just editing and stuff. I will post it definitely on this Friday. Definitely on this Friday. Now, the content has been created. Let me just pull up, just for the sake of the video, article 142 of Indian Constitution. Indian Qanun, yes. All right. This is the article. Now the Supreme Court. What was it? The order name? Decrees and orders, enforcement orders. Court decrees and order enforcement on 1954. Yes, this one. Let us say this is it. Let it be more blah blah. Live law. This is much better. No. No. Mama, 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 legislative.gov.india. Orders issued under the Constitution of India. The Constitution, Supreme Court, Enforcement Order 23, page 23. Let's go. 23 after this. Page 1. This is supposed to be page 1. 23 plus 14 is 37. 23. See here. That's right. I pulled it up for you. This is legislative.gov.in. Legislative.gov.in is the legit site. Let me show you what site it is. Vidhai Vibhag, Legislative Department, Ministry of Law and Justice. It has this. So nothing that I say will be false, bruv. Ever. Ever. I am the best, baby. In this business, I am the best. I am the greatest. Let's go. Hold it up. Pull these three together and you will form the content. Let's go. This is another UPSC tidbit. Today I am talking about two things: complete justice and from where. If you have ever questioned that from where does the Supreme Court get the power to actually have what they say, that is the decrees they made and the orders they make, to be law in the land of India. So
There are two things, not one, but two things that are important in this manner, which are number one, the article number 142 in the Constitution of India. It basically says that Supreme Court provides complete justice. And number two, whatever decrees and orders it makes in order to provide complete justice, it's 6 o'clock and some guy is blasting full music. Man, come on. Man, come on. People are trying to study. Anyways, please disregard that. I would probably edit that out. Now, so Article 42, 142 says this, that in order to give complete justice, the decrees and orders that are passed by Supreme Court are to be law for the whole territory of India. Here it says this, that any decree so passed or order so made shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India in such manner as may be prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament, and until provision in that behalf is so made, in such manner as the President may prescribe. So, is there any law? No, there is no law. But, but, there is a presidential order, that there is a presidential ordinance. Now, this is where it gets easy. I pulled up legislative.gov.in site, that is Vidhai Vibhag, the Legislative Department of Ministry of Law and Justice. Here it is. It is a legitimate site. Swachh Bharat, this, and Mr. Narendra Modi's photo. It is legit. As legit as it gets. It gives me a PDF of the orders made by president in the past, and it is the constitution order number 14, that is an ordinance, kind of ordinance. This order may be called the Supreme Court decrees and orders enforcement order. Notwithstanding anything contained in any other law in force at the commencement of this order, any decree passed or made by Supreme Court in the exercise of the appellate jurisdiction, including an order as to cause and incidental to any proceedings in the exercise of such jurisdiction, such decree or order was passed or made or blah 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 blah. Supreme Court was referred as blah blah blah. Basically, it enforces Article 142. It's appellate jurisdiction, that is. That is how Supreme Court gets its power. Article number 142 and the Constitutional Order number 14. That is the Supreme Court Decrees and Orders Enforcement Order 1950. Let me pause it. I gotta take a shit. Emergency shit. Alright, alright. I don't remember where I was. I will just repeat myself. Alright, it is recording, right? It is recording. So, Supreme Court's decrees and order become the law of the land by the usage of Article 142 and the Constitutional Order number 14 by the President of India, which is named the Supreme Court Decrees and Orders Enforcement Order 1950. As you can see, if you can follow my mouse, this. All right. By these two, Supreme Court, whatever the decrees and order it passes in giving complete justice. Now, the concept of complete justice is given in Article 142. And wait a minute. Wait a minute. Contain the concept in any cause or matter which the Supreme Court is enjoined to deliver upon the citizen of the country look up to for complete justice. So while selecting judge, what is complete justice? Concept of complete justice. The interpretation of complete justice has not been consistent. From 1963 to 1989, the interpretation of complete justice was that it cannot be adverted to defeat statutory provisions. The first case in this series is Premchand Garg versus Excise Commission, Exercise Commissioner, Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad. In this case, the question before the Constitution bench was that whether the Supreme Court could frame a rule or issue an order which would be inconsistent with any of the fundamental rights. Answering the question in negative, an order which this court can make in order to do complete justice between the parties must not only be consistent with the fundamental rights, but it cannot even be inconsistent with substantive provisions of the relevant statutory laws. This view was approved by same learned judge in Naresh Sridhar Mirajkar. Does not contemplate doing justice to one party by ignoring mandatory statutory provisions and thereby doing complete justice. This view was overturned by the Supreme Court in Delhi Judicial Service Association versus State of Gujarat, wherein K.N. Singh, as he was then for a 3 minutes, the court's power under Article 142 complete justice is entirely a different level and of a different quality. Any prohibition or restriction contained in ordinary laws cannot act as a limitation on the constitutional power of this court. These observations were approved by a constitutional bench which decided Union Carbide Corporation versus Union of India, as he was then held the prohibitions or limitation of provisions contained in ordinary law cannot ipso facto act. Ipso facto. By the very fact, by the act, cannot ipso facto act as prohibition or limitation on the constitutional power under Article 142, which was overruled. That amplitude of power available under of is normally not conditioned by any statutory provision, but it cannot lose sight of the court exercise jurisdiction, the view to do justice between parties, but not in disregard. This unbridled nature of the power was reiterated, held that undoubtedly it has the power untrammeled by any statutory limitations. In this amendment, the proposition cannot run here. Its beginning in Marbury in his historian is an article which deals with procedural aspects, and the two words cannot enlarge the scope. In construing the expression scheme of the article should be looked into. It is not right to construe words in a vacuum and then insert the meaning into an article, Lord Green observed. The first thing one has to do, I venture to think, in construing words in a section of an act of parliament is not to take those words in vacuo, so to speak, and attribute to them what it means, called their natural or ordinary meaning. Few words in English language have a natural or ordinary meaning in the sense that they must be so read that their meaning is entirely independent of their context. The method of construing statutes that I prefer is not to take particular words and attribute to them a sort of prima facie meaning which you may have to displace or modify. It is to read the statute as a whole and ask oneself the question, in this state, in this context, relating to this subject matter, what is the true meaning of that word? Derive color from those which surround them. A word is not a crystal. A grant of power in general, blah blah blah. Communication should be according to law, to the rule of law, which is basic feature. Wide Keshwanan, employing complete justice, cannot be read in isolation. Okay, oh no, shit. Okay. By Dr. Justice B.S. Chauhan, Judge Supreme Court of India. There is an orderliness in the universe. There is an unalterable law governing everything and every being that exists. It is no blind law, for no blind law can govern the conduct of living beings. Today, when we live in an age where the legal system are highly developed, that governance of rights and liabilities depend upon law and its principles rather than equity, still find the basis of such laws from the concept of justice. Justice has been the central theme of all the civilization in the world. Did I? Yes, yes, it is paused. It was this. It was the central theme of the American Declaration of Independence when the colonies resolved to throw out long-standing government when it failed to protect the dues of a man. What is justice? Asked Plato. Justice is a proper, harmonious relationship between the warring parts of the person or city. According to Hobbes and Rousseau model of sovereignty, justice is a process of giving and protecting the rights and liberties of a person. The aim of justice is, as the Romans used to say, to give each its due, and in order to each to be given what is his. Give in this sense means to protect the right of possession. Each man get what belongs to him. In the course of voluntary exchanges that constitute the economic process and by virtue of operation of market, each reserves for his contribution precisely the amount that will impel him to increase the supply of most urgently demanded commodities. Justice is the act by which the society, court, tribunal gives to a man what is entitled to him, as opposed to protecting against injury or wrong. Justice is the rendering of what is right and equitable towards one who has suffered a wrong. Therefore, while tempering the justice with mercy, the court has to be very conscious that it has to do justice in exact conformity to some obligatory law, for the reason that human actions are found to be just or unjust as they are in conformity with or in opposition. Human actions are found to be just or unjust as they are in it has to do justice in exact conformity to some law, for the reason that human actions are found to be just or unjust as they are in conformity with, then it's just or unjust if they are in opposition of the law. Justice is an illusion as the meaning and definition varies from person to person, party to party. Party feels having got justice only and only if it succeeds, though it may not even have a justifiable claim. There are times when an RT may continue with our adversarial legislation just to satisfy ego that justice is when he wins the case, without realizing that at times, even if he eventually wins, he may not enjoy the fruits of the litigation, for though they would have died and died long back. It is a situation that the court has to play a role of mediator rather than a conventional adjudicator and ensure that complete justice is done. The founding fathers of the Constitution, cognizant of the realities of life, wisely engrafted rights, duties, and practical procedures in the nation's constitution for a democratic way of life. While chapters dealing with the rights and liabilities have been included, the drafting committee also ingrained chapters on their enforceability by including institutions of union and state judiciary within the Constitution itself. Article 32, 136, 142, 226, etc. of the Constitution strengthen the desire of imparting complete justice. These provisions are part of discretionary jurisdiction of the court. So basically, he says that justice is what is the due of the man. What is right, what is wrong, and on the basis of it, what anyone deserves. Veil of ignorance. Of these, Article 136 and 142 are more important and often go together. Article 136 provides a discretion to the Supreme Court to grant a special leave to appeal against any judgment, decree, determination, sentence, or order. Such right to appeal is not an automatic right, and only if the court is of the opinion that matter is such that requires the interference by the apex court is the leave granted. The scope of Article 136 has been well explained in the case of N. Surakala, wherein the court held that article was never meant to be an ordinary form of appeal at all. Under the constitutional scheme, ordinarily, the last court in the country in ordinary case was meant to be High Court. The Supreme Court, as the apex court in the country, was meant to deal with important issues like constitutional questions, question of law of general importance, or grave injustice. If the Supreme Court entertains all and sundry kinds of cases, it will soon be flooded with a huge amount of backlog and will not be able to deal with important questions relating to the Constitution or the law, or where grave injustice has been done, for which it was really meant under the constitutional scheme. After all, the Supreme Court has limited time at its disposal and it cannot be expected to hear every kind of dispute. A plenary jurisdiction exercisable on assuming appellate jurisdiction, subject to grant of special leave against any kind of judgment or order made by any court, has been embodied and vested in the Supreme Court. It is an extraordinary jurisdiction vested by the Constitution in the court with implicit trust and faith, and extraordinary care and caution has to be observed in the exercise of this jurisdiction or special jurisdiction. Article 100 does not confer a right of appeal on a party, but vests a vast discretion in the Supreme Court meant to be exercised by the consideration of justice, call of duty, and eradicating injustice. The court held that the Supreme Court could not hesitate to interfere cases where the decision of the lower court will lead to miscarriage of justice. The court held that unless there is infirmity or any illegality in that it would lead to the failure of justice. The court should not interfere by exercising its discretionary jurisdiction under Article 136. The essential question herein is what happens when the Supreme Court does exercise its jurisdiction under 136 and grants leave to appeal. Does the jurisdiction from that point become one of statutory appeal, thereby vesting the right and obligation to deal with the matter in as such the case would continue to be one under the discretionary jurisdiction? The answer is quite obvious, and the latter is to be held. In a serious case, the Supreme Court has held that even where leave to appeal has been granted, the matter does not travel beyond the discretionary jurisdiction, though it may thereby invoke the appellate jurisdiction of the court, and in such case, the court can even refuse to interfere even if it has granted leave. The court, when leave to appeal is granted, the appellate jurisdiction stands invoked. The gate for entry is open. The petitioner is in, and the respondent may also be called upon to face him. Though in an appropriate case, in spite of having granted leave to appeal, the court may dismiss the appeal without noticing the respondent. In a matter of decision, including those of the constitutional bench, the apex court has held that leave once granted can always be revoked on the application of the party. Okay, ठीक है. In the light of the above, it can be said that the function of APS is largely governed by its endeavor to ensure justice is done. It does not function as a conventional court intending to decide matters between parties, though is not marked by complete absence of it. Rather, it may be termed as more of a supervisory jurisdiction. It is for this very purpose that it was entrusted with great plenary power in the form of 142, which is in complete justice. It is noted that this article uses the word complete justice rather than the term justice. This is because the complete justice travels much beyond the concept of giving justice to a party. Complete justice strives at imparting justice not just for one side alone, but for all. Even if a party has wronged another, the court cannot become an instrument to perpetuate wrong upon him. The expression engrafted is of wide amplitude, couched with elasticity to meet my right situation, is justice according to law, and the Supreme Court would be well within its power to even mold the relief so sought by the parties to ensure that no illegality is perpetuated. The main purpose and endeavor to do has been explained by this court in Manohar Lal Sharma, wherein the apex court held that Supreme Court has been conferred with very wide powers of proper and effective administration of justice. The court has inherited power and jurisdiction for dealing with any exceptional situation in larger public interest, which builds confidence in the rule of law and strengthens democracy. The Supreme Court as the sentinel on the Kiwi way. Hi.
On the qui vive.
On the lookout. On the lookout. As the sentinel and on the lookout have been invested with the powers which are elastic and flexible in certain areas. Rigidity in the exercise is considered inappropriate. The court said Article 1 read with 142 enables the court to pass such orders which are necessary for doing complete justice in cause or matter pending before it. The power to do is in the nature of a corrective measure. All right. Manohar Lal Sharma with principal second. All right. That is enough, I would understand. Article. So, Justice B.S. Chauhan. So what is complete justice? I have just understood what is complete justice by the words of Dr. Justice B.S. Chauhan, who was a judge in the Supreme Court of India. That is, he is a Supreme Court judge. His Majesty, whatever, honorable judge. It is important that we understand the word of such intellectuals of India. So, in essence, what this 13-page article says about complete justice is the fact that it arises from the Article 142. What does it mean, and what does justice mean, and how complete justice is different from justice? Justice means in Rousseau, Hobbes model, or by Plato, to mean in a sense that justice is when an adjudicator provides what is due to a party, which was right, and right or wrong can be assessed by veil of ignorance. And this veil of ignorance concept you can search on Google, whatever, but you have to understand. Basically, in a sense, it means that you have to be blind to every other thing but the facts of the matter, and then come up with the most rational solution and the most rational judgment. On the basis of that, you get what is uh, proper justice, that is, the due of the man is given to him. So, when justice is talked about, it is then talked about in the sense of two parties, the wronged one and the right one getting the due, and the wrong one paying those dues. So, only two parties are concerned, then we call it just justice. Just the word justice will be used in this situation, and in essence, in the constitutional scheme of India, Supreme Court is not to be concerned, is not to be disturbed in these matters. What it has three matters to consider, as B.S. Chauhan has said. Justice B.S. Chauhan has said. Basically, number one, it has to talk about the constitutional questions. Number two, it has to talk about the questions that deal with grave injustice. And number three, and number three, the cases of general importance. So these three cases are largely where the Supreme Court has enough time to actually deal with, so that it does what it needs to do. So although it has a place for giving justice, that is settling two parties against each other, but it would rather be more happy in solving or announcing cases or giving orders and decrees on the cases which deal with either constitutional questions or dealing with your cases of general importance for the society, and third, for grave for solving grave injustice, right? That is where the due of the person was not given at all. Now, how this is different than complete justice? The question of complete justice is given by as explained as the justice to all, that is society as a whole, including the two parties that are involved in the dispute, and what it means for the whole society as a whole. When it is seen, then it is said to be complete justice. Here it is. The court has inherent power to deal with any exceptionally large except the court has inherent power and jurisdiction for dealing with any exceptional situation in larger public interest, which builds confidence in the rule of law and strengthen democracy. These are the exact words, which just simply means that as a whole, if you see the case and its implication of the society, what is right and what it will induce confidence in the democracy, confidence in the structure of the government, in the constitution, and in the rule of law. That Supreme Court is also responsible for doing that. So that is what separates it with justice, that no, it is not only about the two parties but the larger societal context in which this case is being uh, decided and the decrees and orders are given. That is what complete justice under Article 142 means. And due to this vast power, there are two uh, strains of thought with respect to this. What does complete justice entails with respect to its jurisdiction? That is, it complete justice versus statutory law. So we'll have to pause it here. Invoke our trusty paint. All right. So yeah, we have justice, and we have stat law. So we will have so the two strain of thought have been pre-Union Carbide case and post-Union Carbide case. Pre-Union Carbide case said that the complete justice, when we are talking about the whole society as a whole, is bound by the statutory law. So basically, whatever decrees and orders in order to do complete justice is being provided by Supreme Court of India were to be within statutory limits. That is, the laws passed by Parliament were supreme to these orders. It cannot say that particular part of some order is wrong on the basis of it cannot provide complete justice due to these laws. That is justice to all. That is, there is particularly restraint on the discretion of Supreme Court. That was pre-Union Carbide case 1984 to 89. Basically, after that, the complete justice was provided a larger context in which it can do whatever it wants with respect to its discretion and jurisdiction, and it can go beyond the statutory limits. So, post Union Carbide, complete justice got a very large jurisdiction and very large explanation and justification to give discretionary power to Supreme Court in order to instill confidence in rule of law and democracy. So this is the concept of complete justice. Remember Union Carbide case, and remember the difference between justice and complete justice. That is two parties or two parties in the context of the whole of India. This is all about from where Supreme Court gets its powers to announce laws, even though it is not being elected by the people. That is the question, sir. That even if Supreme Court is not elected by any person, any group of people, or we can say it has no political mandate, then how can its words be binding as law of land? If you ever wondered, this video answers that question. Thank you. Join in to my live stream. Okay, we did this, we did that, made nice content. UPSC tidbit. That was good. That is good. Oh no. No. It was. That is fine. So let's see how it looks. Where? Let's go. This is another UPSC tidbit. Today I am talking about two things: complete justice and from where. If you have ever questioned that from where does the Supreme Court get the power to actually have what they say, that is the decrees they make and the orders they make, to be law in the land of India. So there are two things, not one, but two things that are important in this manner, which are: number one, the article number 142 in the Constitution of India. It basically says that Supreme Court provides complete justice. And number two, whatever decrees and orders it makes in order to provide complete justice, it's 6 o'clock and some guy is blasting full music. Man, come on, man, come on. People are trying to study. Anyways, please disregard that. I would probably edit that out. Now, so Article 142 says this, that in order to give complete justice, the decrees and orders that are passed by Supreme Court are to be law for the whole territory of India. Here it says this, that any decree so passed or order so made shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India in such manner as may be prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament, and until provision in that behalf is so made, in such manner as the President may prescribe. So, is there any law? No, there is no law. But there is a presidential order. That there is a presidential ordinance. Now, this is where it gets easy. I pulled up legislative.gov.in site, that is Vidhai Vibhag, the Legislative Department of Ministry of Law and Justice. Here it is. It is a legitimate site. Swachh Bharat, this, and Mr. Narendra Modi's photo. It is legit. As legit as it gets. It gives me a PDF of the orders made by president passed, and it is the constitution order number 14, that is an ordinance, kind of ordinance. This order may be called the Supreme Court decrees and orders enforcement order. Notwithstanding anything contained in any other law in force at the commencement of this order, any decree passed or made by Supreme Court in the exercise of the appellate jurisdiction, including an order as to cause and incidental to any proceedings in the exercise of such jurisdiction, such decree or order was passed or made or blah 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 blah. Supreme Court was referred as blah blah blah. Basically, it enforces Article 142. It's appellate jurisdiction, that is. That is how Supreme Court gets its power. Article number 142 and the Constitutional Order number 14. That is the Supreme Court Decrees and Orders Enforcement Order 1950. Let me pause it. Alright. It is recording? Right. It is recording. So, Supreme Court's decrees and order become the law of the land by the usage of Article 142 and the Constitutional Order number 14 by the President of India, which is named the Supreme Court Decrees and Orders Enforcement Order 1950. As you can see, if you can follow my mouse, this. Alright. By these two, Supreme Court, whatever the decrees and order it passes in giving complete justice. Now, the concept of complete justice is given in Article 142. And wait a minute. So, what is complete justice? I have just understood what is complete justice by the words of Dr. Justice B.S. Chauhan, who was a judge in the Supreme Court of India. That is, he is a Supreme Court judge. His Majesty, whatever, honorable judge. It is important that we understand the word of such intellectuals of India. So, in essence, what this 13-page article says about complete justice is the fact that it arises from the Article 142. What does it mean? And what does justice mean? And how complete justice is different from justice. Justice means in Rousseau, Hobbes model, or by Plato, to mean in a sense that justice is when an adjudicator provides what is due to a party, which was right. And right or wrong can be uh, assessed by veil of ignorance. And this veil of ignorance concept you can search on Google, whatever, but you have to understand. Basically, in a sense, it means that you have to be blind to every other thing but the facts of the matter, and then come up with the most rational solution and the most rational judgment. On the basis of that, you get what is uh, proper justice, that is, the due of the man is given to him. So, when justice is talked about, it is then talked about in the sense of two parties, the wrong one and the right one getting the due and the wrong one paying those dues. So only two parties are concerned, then we call it just justice. Just the word justice will be used in this situation, and in essence, in the constitutional scheme of India, Supreme Court is not to be concerned, is not to be disturbed in these matters. What it has three matters to consider, as B.S. Chauhan has said. Justice B.S. Chauhan has said. Basically, number one, it has to talk about the constitutional questions. Number two, it has to talk about the questions that deal with grave injustice. And number three, the cases of general importance. So these three cases are largely where the Supreme Court has enough time to actually deal with, so that it does what it needs to do. So although it has a place for giving justice, that is settling two parties against each other, but it would rather be more happy in solving or announcing case person was not given at all. Now, how this is different than complete justice? The question of complete justice is given by, uh, as explained as the justice to all. That is, society as a whole, including the two parties that are involved in the dispute, and what it means for the whole society as a whole. When it is seen, then it is said to be complete justice. Here it is. The court has inherent power to deal with any exceptionally large except the court has inherent power and jurisdiction for dealing with any exceptional situation in larger public interest, which builds confidence in the rule of law and strengthen democracy. These are the exact words, which just simply means that as a whole, if you see the case and its implication of the society, what is right and what it will induce confidence in the democracy, confidence in the structure of the government, in the constitution, and in the rule of law. That when so Supreme Court is also responsible for doing that. So that is what separates it with justice, that no, it is not only about the two parties but the larger societal context in which this case is being uh, decided and the decrees and orders are given. That is what complete justice under Article 142 means. And due to this vast power, there are two uh, strains of thought with respect to this. What does complete justice? So, in post student carbide case, So the two strain of thought have been pre-Union Carbide case and post-Union Carbide case. Pre-Union Carbide case said that the complete justice, when we are talking about the whole society as a whole, is bound by the statutory law. So basically, whatever decrees and orders in order to do complete justice is being provided by Supreme Court of India were to be within statutory limits. That is, the laws passed by Parliament were supreme to these orders. It cannot say that particular part of some order is wrong on the basis of it cannot provide complete justice due to these laws. That is justice to all. That is, there is particularly restraint on the discretion of Supreme Court. That was pre-Union Carbide case 1984 to 89. Basically, after that, the complete justice was provided a larger context in which it can do whatever it wants with respect to its discretion and jurisdiction, and it can go beyond the statutory limits. So, post Yungabite, complete justice got a very large jurisdiction and very large explanation and justification to give discretionary power to Supreme Court in order to instill confidence in rule of law and democracy. So this is the concept of complete justice. Remember Union Carbide case, and remember the difference between justice and complete justice. That is two parties or two parties in the context of the whole of India. This is all about from where Supreme Court gets its powers to announce laws, even though it is not being elected by the people. That is the question, sir. That even if Supreme Court is not elected by any person, any group of people, or we can say it has no political mandate, then how can its words be binding as law of land? If you ever wondered, this video answers that question. Thank you. Join in to my live stream. Perfect. Nice. With a little bit of editing, this can form proper content. Rename this as Article 142 and Complete Justice. Nice video. This is nice. The content provided is nice, baby. Nice. This is nice. All right, 2 sessions in one go. This was nice. This was nice. Two or three. 557. 2, 3, fourth session must also be going on basically. Yeah, fourth session is going on. 150. Yeah. I had to take a shit again, man. Damn. Mute. Oh. Ooh. What the hell? Why cannot I see myself? Damn it. I was just. What the hell? It's frozen. My soul froze. Coffee on cold breeze. So froze. Coffee on cold and my soul froze. With you in the mirror, so hey, what the hell is going on? Come on, man. What's going on? What the hell is going on? There is some trouble here. Yes, it's back. And it's you in the middle. Come on, what the hell is going on? I don't understand. What is this? What the hell is going on? Bruv. Some problem is occurring. I don't know, man. Will it sort itself? I don't think so. Well, it's best that I don't do it. Alright, so there is apparently some problem with the camera. Oh my god, you cannot even see me. Well, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You cannot see me. That is how the stream will go. You just have to be there. I mean, damn. There is no point of doing a stream anymore. Some technical difficulties are coming. Well. I guess I have to stop the stream now.